So here is 8 things your home builder won't tell you.
Really? Tell me about them.
So what's going on, everybody? This is Rich, your local coastal Maryland and Delaware realtor. I appreciate you coming by. So in this video, I'm gonna go over 8 things that your home builder won't necessarily come out and tell you, and something that you should be aware of, just so you can be fully prepared, if you're looking to purchase a new build, in the future. So, and I get people that reach out all the time and I love it. Never too busy to chat. My contact information is going to be down below in the description. Reach out anytime. Would love to talk with you. But without further ado, let's hop into the video. All right, so number 1, I wanted to talk about transfer and recordation tax, particularly here in coastal Delaware. That it's actually one of the highest states for those fees. That's usually part of your closing costs when you're purchasing real estate. So with a new build here in the area, there is a 4% transfer recordation cost from the state of Delaware, and that's usually split between buyer and seller, particularly when you're looking at an existing home. But what you'll see a lot with new builds is the builder pushes that onto the buyer 100%. So 4%, if you're looking at a $700,000 home, that comes out to be about $28,000. That comes part of your closing costs, which is it's a big chunk on that. So some builders will actually cover the half of that, split that with you, so that only puts 2% on your side and 2% for the builder. And usually the builder, if they are willing to do that, they'll let you know that up front. That's part of their advertisement with their incentives, because not all builders do it. So they make sure they put it out there to let you know about that expense. So, and that's something, if you're using a buyer's agent like me, something I would explain to you, and something to be aware of, while you're out there shopping for certain communities and builders that you're gonna potentially move forward with. And of course, that transfer recordation tax, that is negotiable. So that is something that you could ask the builder to split with you. It really comes down to it. All right, so number 2 is the incentives that the builder advertises is usually hooked in and tagged to you as the buyer using their lender, or having to use their lender. So you're not really getting a choice what lender to use. So keep that in mind. Sometimes that's non-negotiable with the builders. And a lot of times, I guess if they have a lender that they use, obviously they're familiar with the builder and all their information on their end. So they may have some savings on their end, and the reason why they choose to use that particular lender. And also, with some of the lenders, builders, especially larger builders, they do a lot of business, so they can actually have some ownership in that lender, and also with the settlement attorney or settlement company that you're using. And by law, they have to disclose that, so that up front. They have you sign a disclosure, on there. And usually it's okay, getting that. If they're offering, let's say, $20,000 in builder incentives for you to use that lender, most of them are pretty fair, but you have the choice to have somebody else take a look at your scenario and see what they offer. Sometimes that's not a bad idea. So you could just check the actual fees that the lenders are charging, just to make sure they're not overcharging you on points on the back end, the process, the loan, or anything like that. But normally it's usually the best deal, just because even if maybe their fees are a little bit higher, but not anything crazy, but you're getting that extra $20,000, $30,000 of incentives that you're using to buy down your price, or as for upgrades or whatever you may use that for. All right, let's go with number 3 is the increase in HOA costs. So, a lot of the planned communities that I'm helping clients, purchase in and invest in have an HOA. So, and an HOA, usually in this area, coastal Delaware or in the Maryland area, they're usually not that bad. They're going to be running in that, 200 to maybe 300 per month price range, which usually includes, maybe cutting the grass, lawn maintenance, there's some kind of amenities in the neighborhood, maybe a pool, clubhouse, and so forth. But, when you're buying in with a new construction, a new build, a lot of times the condo fee or community HOA fee is going to be X amount of dollars, particularly especially when the neighborhood's is first starting out. But typically what happens is once the community is more than 50% built out and you've got the amenities built, the clubhouse, maybe the pool and whatever else that they offer, that fee, the HOA fee, could increase. So that's a question that you would want to ask and find out of what HOA fee is now, when you're purchasing, but what's it going to be once the community's 50% built out, 80%, when everything is almost completed on there. So, and I've seen it, not make a huge difference, but obviously if you're looking at numbers, that's something to consider, and it's good to know about that before you actually purchase the home. All right, so number 4, let's talk about property taxes. When you're buying a new build, the tax on that is going to be mainly just for the lot. So it's going to show very low and not really what the reality is going to be, when you actually have your house built, that has a certain value to it along with the land and the lot. So that's going to be reassessed. So, most likely your property taxes are going to be a bit higher, once the home is built and whenever the county reassesses, your property there. So talking about, coastal Delaware, the big attractive point about this area is the property tax is like super, super low, almost unbelievable on some of these homes. But, you're going to see a difference from when you see maybe the advertised, maybe in the MLS listing of what that property tax is now versus what it's going to be, once your home is actually built. So a lot of builders are pretty good about giving like an estimate of what that's going to be. Of course, it's usually like a range just because it may just vary, just slightly, and they don't know exactly to the dollar amount what that would be, but they should be able to give you a range and they give you a good idea of, what to expect, moving forward. Number 5 is knowing your right to have representation when you go to purchase your new build in the home. So I'm talking about a buyer's agent or a realtor, somebody like me that would be looking out for your best interests and can really help you through the whole process and know the questions to ask. So when you're looking at new builds and going to purchase one, the reps there are the builder reps. So they're looking out for the best interests of the builder and that community, so to speak. So, and a lot of the reps are, can be nice, very knowledgeable. Of course, they're probably like the number one source for knowledge of that community, particular community that you would be looking in, that we would go and actually go tour and take a look at, and any details about the builder. And they may not necessarily offer up and say, hey, would you really like a real estate agent or somebody who can help you out and represent you to make sure you're taken care of? Most likely they're not going to offer that up, but you should know that you do have that available to you. And it makes sense, again, to have somebody who's been through the process and can help you with questions that you may not know to ask, and other important things like negotiating, things that you didn't know that you may be able to ask for, because the builder rep, although they may seem like your friend, and most of them are very knowledgeable and cool, and I have a good relationship with a lot of builder reps, and they may present something, the incentives that they're offering, and they're kind of going to just tell you what the deal is, what they're offering, but they're not necessarily going to go above and beyond to help you negotiate, or maybe to get a little extra here or there, if you know what I mean. So, you have the right for representation, and you can bring somebody in, a licensed buyer's agent, again, that can not only show you that one community, but you can kind of handpick and show you multiple communities that might be a good match for you. It's good to have somebody that's looking out for you, that has your back, and helps you avoid costly mistakes on a large purchase, like a new home. All right, we're going to keep this moving. Number 6 is the builder contracts. I just talked about that a little bit. Contracts are important because they will hold you to a contract. And the one thing too is, builders use their own contracts, and you better believe that they have their own attorneys and of what they can do, what they can't. And they write these contracts out for them. And most of them are structured and written in a way to be fair, but you want to just make sure that you read all the details. And of course, if you have any questions, ask questions. Of course, if you're working with a buyer's agent, they can help you out, kind of looking through. Of course, you could always seek legal counsel as well, but you might want to just find out, make sure, like say, you're putting a large deposit down. If you're late on maybe the second deposit that's due at a certain point in the process, what's the fee going to be, or what's the repercussions of that? It's good to know, the details on that. Of course, in that contract, it should outline the obligations of the builder. Of course, that contract can lead a little bit more towards the builder in their favor, give them some leadway on some things, but it's still good to ask questions. And obviously when you're picking a builder in a community, it's always good to read the reviews, the reputation of the builder. Do they do what they say they're going to do is the big thing, which, it's that good to find out beforehand, before you actually commit to move forward. But that's the main thing, look over your contracts, ask questions, and, at least know what to expect with those. All right. So number 7, let's talk about advertised base pricing versus your actual price, when you go to sign and choose all the details, and when they put the actual quote, the contract together. So, I mean, most people and clients that I've worked with, helping them look at new builds, they understand that there's a base price they advertise. Let's just say they're advertising in the low 600s. It's meant as a marketing tactic to catch your eye, be like, okay, these are more affordable than I thought. Especially if, average pricing, you see a lot of existing homes that are more in the $800,000 range. But, there are expectations. You're not going to know this up front, and every builder is a little bit different of how they structure their pricing of their base price versus what, typical add-ons are going to be, when you buy. It could be anywhere from $80,000 to, well, I've seen them up to $500,000. It's depending on what you can do and the type of builder it is and the type of home. There's a lot that are kind of more of like a semi-custom, which I'm thinking of like one particular builder in Coastal Delaware. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee to expect to add like $150,000 to maybe $200,000 to that base price that you're seeing, just because, well, there's a lot of choices and upgrades that you can do, like in your interior. But some of the things that you'll be looking at is like any lot premiums, if in a community neighborhood, if you want something a little bit maybe more private, like it backs up to like the woods, or maybe a pond view, get a little bit of water view, not having like a home, directly behind you. You're probably going to bet that there's going to be a lot premium on there. Maybe it's $30,000 for that particular lot. Then you have your interior upgrades, which you might not want to go with the typical like builder grade 4x4 tiles, like in your bathroom shower area. Maybe you want to go with larger tiles and have it go all the way up to the ceiling. That's all going to be a little extra money. Or, extra maybe recessed lights or can lights in maybe the kitchen area. They'll usually give you a couple of them, but most people probably want maybe 4 or 6 of them. So that's another thing too that you don't know really up front until you walk in and start pricing some of these out, is the difference of the gap on there of what the actual pricing will be, to actually get what you want, in that neighborhood. All right, so let's finish this off. This is number 8, is the future development around that community. So, usually the builder's not really going to advertise of what's going to be around that community because, number one, they may not know, but also, it's not really something that they have to advertise because things can change, but it's something that you as a buyer, or if you're working with an agent, can help you kind of look around and know the area of what potentially is going to be beside that community, or maybe behind the house that you're looking at, where it's going to be built. Because it may be farmland now, but probably is a sure bet that there's probably going to be future development, and it could be another residential neighborhood, or maybe is that more of a commercial road that's out front there, that maybe there's going to be commercial businesses that's going to be there. So, and that's something that you could also check, you know, some of the county websites for permits and future developments, because everything has to be submitted through there, maybe what's going to be there in the future. And again, it's hard in some areas because there may not be any plans for that yet, but you know, maybe 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, there could be something. So I think the old saying is, if there's vacant land around there, I would think you would just assume that probably there could be development there eventually. And maybe that's something to think about, that, okay, if something's being built there, will I be okay with that, you know? And a lot of the, you know, builders and communities are really good about creating buffer zones like around the community. So if there are, you know, existing neighborhoods next to it, maybe something established, you know, a lot of them do a good job at having, you know, trees or some kind of separation drainage ponds that look nice and gives you some separation, you know, from maybe a different community. And this could be the same too, if it's just vacant land, they may still create some kind of buffer zone, you know, just in case for future, and, you know, just to make it, you know, the community more attractive to somebody looking to buy into the community. All right, so that was the top 8 things that your builder may not tell you right off the bat. Hopefully that's helped. And if you had an experience on your own, or you've noticed something, you know, leave a comment down below. Share it with everybody. Let me know. I always like to hear some news stories or scenarios. And of course, if you need help and you plan on maybe looking for a new build, you know, reach out. Again, my contact information is going to be down below in the description. Love to connect with you. Be happy to help. And if the video has helped you out, make sure you show the love. Click that like button. Subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any of the content that I come out with every week. And of course, until next time, I'll see you soon.